Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bethany, and if you are brand new and joining for the first time, welcome and thanks for clicking on this video. In this video, I have a very big cup of coffee because I have so much to get done today. I am planning my son's first birthday party, and I am going to be doing all of the party planning right on my craft table. So I have a lot of things to get done. I'm going to be doing the birthday party invitations. I'll be making a high chair banner for his high chair. It's going to say 1, and so we're just going to hang that on his little high chair. And then I'm also going to be doing some party decor and then getting the little gift baskets ready for, well, or party favors, I guess I should say, ready for all the little kiddos to take home. So I have quite a few things. I don't even think I've listed everything that we're doing. I think we're also going to be making him a shirt. I have a couple other fun things to show you, but quite a list of things to do. I can't believe it's time to do a first birthday. So we're going to start the video off by starting with the invitations, and this is what I'm going to make for the little invites. I thought this was so cute, and quite honestly, when planning a party, I find that, at least in all the parties I've done in the past, you kind of find one thing that you're obsessed with and then you base the whole party off of it. So for me, it was this little stamp set, and I'll share everything in the description box below, but I found a fun little stamp set and I made the invite, and we're going to make them together today as well. And then I just ran with that as my theme. So if you missed a couple months ago, I actually redecorated his entire room to do kind of a solar system astronaut theme. And I'll link that video up in the corner for you. So, oh, it might be this way. I'll link it up for you. So if you want to check that out, you certainly can. But we're going to do a fun little solar system outer space theme for his birthday as well. So we're going to start by doing the invite, and then we're going to get a lot of other things done. So I have my caffeine. Hopefully you can pour yourself a cup of something that you really like as well. Obviously, I'm a little tongue-tied, so I might need to take a couple more sips of my coffee, and then I am going to bust through this to-do list and get this whole party planned right on my craft table. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you are excited to watch all these things come together. I certainly am, and even more importantly, I'm excited to get some things crossed off my list because that is just so gratifying. Let's go ahead and get started with the invites, and then we're going to do quite a few other things. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I found the cutest little stamp set by Fawn, and let me put a piece of paper behind here so you can see, but I am going to inspire my little boy's birthday party invites around this stamp set, and I really think they're gonna be so sweet. I did a little test run on one, and I can't wait to show you what I decided on doing for the entire collection of invites. So I'm going to be using the stamp set. Everything I use will be in the description box below this video if you'd like to recreate these or use these and do something completely different. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to take these stitched circle frames, and I'm going to grab, I think it's the second size down. Yes, that looks right. And I am going to, it's really neat. If you can see, there's like a little stitched look in the center of the circle. I am actually, you're not going to actually see that on my project, but for other projects, keep these in mind because they're really neat. I'm basically just going to use these to actually get the shape that I want, which in this case will be a circle, and you'll see why in a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to grab a little bit of tape, and I'm going to secure my die right to my panel. Now I'm just using an A2 size panel in 80-pound cardstock. I'll link the cardstock that I like down below. And this is just going to be for my panel, but later when I do my actual card base, I'll use 110 pound. Okay, so grabbing my base here and little platforms, I'm going to send this through my spell binders real quick and cut this out and get kind of the idea going here where we can build the card. Okay, so I have my front panel here, and look at this. This is really neat. Again, I'm not going to be using this in the project today, but I'll save this and set this aside for something different. I love that stitched look. It's really neat. Again, I'm just using this purely for this circle. So I'm also going to save this little innard because I can use this later when I'm going to build upon little layers for making my little word. You'll see that in just a little bit. So I'm just going to set that up there. Okay, the next thing that I want to do is I am going to trim this down just a hair, and I'm going to use this little A2 layer die set that I have. I really love it. It just helps to trim down that little A2 size panel just a little bit smaller, and it comes in a variety of sizes, but it's just going to be a really nice tad smaller look on front of my, or on top of my actual card. Okay, so I'm going to send that through as well. Trim that panel down just a little bit. In fact, I don't think I have that completely centered. The best thing about these is you can really get an idea for centering. And I think that looks just a tad better. And I'm going to be making 7 of these, so perfection is not going to be attainable, but where I can try to get things lined up just right, I'm going to make that effort. Okay, let me send this through. I'm going to angle this just a little bit just so that it runs through a little bit nicer. Okay, and then we'll have our little panel ready to start building on. Okay, so I sent that through. And now I have my little front panel trimmed down just a little bit. Grabbing my tape off. Okay. I can set these to the side, and I have my little panel. Now, the reason I wanted to do a little circle here is because I wanted this to look somewhat like you were in a spaceship and they had the circular windows, and then we're going to be looking out on a scene. So you're going to see me build that scene in just a minute, but I really liked the idea of having a little circle window kind of look on my front panel to start with. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some more cardstock, and I am going to build the back card panel, and we're going to be doing a little bit of embossing. Okay, so I have really quickly here a 110-pound piece of cardstock, and I'm going to be making an A2 size card. So I am going to put this on my little score buddy really quickly, and I'm going to score this at 5.5 in order to create a little center there. So I'm going to grab the little 5.5, score, score, and score. And then I'm going to fold this down. Looks good, looks good. And then we will have our little A2 card. And then when you see the panel here, because I use that little layer die, this is just a tad smaller, and I think that'll look really nice. Okay, so now I want to build a little bit of dimension, but I want to do it in a subtle way. I'm going to grab this little polka dot embossing folder, and what I'm going to do is I am just going to emboss the front of this card. So I'm going to make it so that the polka dots pop up, so you're just going to locate whichever side does that, and I'm going to center that how I'd like it, opening up my card here because now I can see that top crease where it stops, and just centering that where I'd like, just like that. And that looks good to me. Maybe bring that down just a hair. Again, just centering it on my front piece of my card. Okay, and that looks good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this through, and on the platform it does give you your layers for how you can do different things in the Spellbinders machine. So I'm going to be doing an embossing folder sandwich over here. So I'll do my platform, I'll do my embossing folder with my paper inside, which I already did, and then I'll do a cutting plate. One thing I like to do is I like to have another piece of 110-pound cardstock as a shim. So I just put that on my platform there, then I place my embossing folder, and then I do one of my plates. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have that all ready. Bring that back a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to send that through. Okay, so take my shim away, keep everything organized over here, and then when I open this up, look, it's very subtle, but it's there, and it's really, really neat. Okay, so now I'm going to really quickly put this panel over my card base, And then in the middle of that little circular area, we have a really nice embossed dot. And I really, really think that's really neat. It's just a nice way, because I like to do a lot of white on white. I just like that clean and crisp look of it. But this gives you a little bit of visual interest, and it just kind of takes away a little bit of the boring smooth paper and gives it something a little bit more fun to look at. So now I'm going to grab some foam tape, and I'm going to build up my panel on my card. So just grabbing, everything wants to jump around. I'm just going to grab some of this foam tape, and I'm just going to place it all the way around the back of my panel. I'm going to be very mindful to build out and up the edges, and then I'm going to also make sure that I build up this area here. That way it doesn't bow in the middle. So I'll go ahead and just do that really quickly, and then we'll start assembling this card. And what we're doing really is just creating this nice blank canvas that is really visually interesting, and then we'll start stamping everything that's going to embellish the card with. Okay, so I have my foam tape on the back here. I am just going to remove all the little strips, and that will allow me to have a double-sided adhesive that is raised for dimension, and then I will place that right on the front of my card, just like that. Just press it down, flatten it out, really nice. Okay, and then this is going to be the front of our card. I love it. I love that the foam tape gives it a little bit of dimension and pops it up, but I also love the dimension of the subtle embossing that we did. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start stamping and coloring and really making this whole card pop. Okay, so I have a little scrap of 80-pound cardstock, and I am going to use that to stamp on. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my MISTI, and then I'm going to place it in the top left corner here, and then I'm going to grab which little stamps I want to use, and I am going to use this astronaut, and then I'm also going to use the little earth, just like that. Okay, let me go ahead and close the door. Really attach those to the door, and then I am going to stamp with a Memento Tuxedo Black. I am going to be doing some coloring next, so I want to make sure that I'm using an ink that will be friendly with the markers. So I'm going to go ahead and use that as my ink this time. Go ahead and stamp my stamps. I'm going to stamp them a couple of times. Whoops. Grab that because that makes me so nervous. And even though usually it doesn't get on the paper, I just like to remedy that. Call me a clean crafter or what you will, but I just like to keep it neat. Okay, so let me go ahead and stamp. And then I'm going to do this twice on another little area here. That way I have an extra. That looks really good, but I think I'm going to give it just a tad more. There we go. And just pop that color really nice. Okay. That looks good. Okay. Ooh, that looks really good. I'm just going to go ahead and rotate my cardstock. And this is just in case I make a mistake coloring, I have a backup. It's easier to have a backup now. It's easier to have a backup now than to wish I did. So when in doubt, just go ahead. Give yourself an extra, knowing that you can always use it later. You can always tuck it aside and use it later. Okay, and you know, that looks pretty excellent, but because I did the other one twice, I'll just go ahead and do this twice as well. Keep it fair. Okay, one more and we will be all set. Okay, even better. So now I can put my MISTI away, I can clean off my stamps, and I have my cute little earth and astronaut. Okay, so let's get this put away And really quickly, while I have my die cutting machine out, I'm going to die cut out some letters. I like to let my ink sit for just a little bit, and I'm talking maybe 5 minutes. Sometimes I find that if I color right away, then I can get a little bit of bleeding from my ink, and that I just usually just give myself maybe 3 to 5 minutes. That's usually all it takes, but I've learned that and I put that in my little workflow, and so I'm just gonna tuck in another little step real quick while this dries. Okay, and sorry if I'm a little tongue-tied. First of all, it's late in the evening, and second of all, I have a little one who's turning 1. So, oh my goodness, so many things going on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Fawn Oliver's Stitched ABC set. Much like the circle that I used earlier, it's a little stitched set, and it's really, really pretty and neat, and it's going to offer a lot of visual interest with my letters. Because my little guy is turning 1, I'm going to go ahead and spell out 1 for the invitation. And I'm going to cut it out a couple of times on white, but I want my final color to be blue. So again, I saved this little piece from the inside of my little window piece that I cut out earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and use that because I like to use every piece of scrap that I have, and I'm going to just cut out my first layer right on there. So I'm going to go ahead and send that through my machine, making sure my correct cutting plate that you cut into is on the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it out once more on this piece and then my final piece on the color piece. Then we'll start building those up. Okay, so I have my 2 layers of white, 1 layer of blue. You can do all of this in 1 layer or in blue if you would like, but I just wanted to save as much of the blue cardstock that I was using. Now I don't have any information on this, only that I did buy it at Joann, and I was using it for another project and then I ended up having extra, so I'm going to get all of my invitations done with mostly scrap pieces, so that is really exciting. Okay, I'm going to put these little these little alphabet dies away just because I don't want to lose them, and it's easier to put them away now than lose them later. Okay, so now what I'll do is I can start coloring, and we're going to really have fun bringing these little characters to life with some alcohol markers that I have already set aside and have ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to grab a little piece of pixie tape here. That way I can just tape down my little panel and it'll be all ready to color. Now I did go ahead and get the colors I want and set them aside. So I have a lot of really fun colors that I'm going to use. I do have a couple different sets of these alcohol markers. Up until this point I've been using the pastel collection, but I am pulling out the bigger collection for this, so I'll link that collection down below. And I really love it. I originally thought maybe I don't need that many markers, but then I found that actually I do. I found that projects like this where you're going to use a lot of fun variety, that it was really helpful to have a bigger collection. So very happy to have it, and I'll be sure to mention which colors I'm using as I go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do his little, let's do the face first. So I'm going to be using a pastel peach. Now the collection that I purchased has a fine tip, you can see right over on the left, and a brush tip right on the right. You do have to be careful on which ones you buy because some do have a chisel tip, and I really prefer the little fine tip because some of these little stamps are really small and intricate. Paired with the brush tip on the other side, I really like this for blending. So I'm going to go ahead, locate the fine tip, and I'm just going to go ahead and begin coloring. Now I'm not perfect at this, but I quite honestly have so much fun and enjoy it. So I kind of think the point is in the fun, right? So I have been really, really having fun. I thought that the coloring was going to stress me out a lot more than it does, but in fact, I find that I actually now search and shop for stamp sets that have and feature a lot of coloring opportunities because I've just been having so much fun. I am going to be keeping the shading very basic. I'm only going to be using this one color for the face, so I'm just going to add a little bit of shading to the side, and then I'll take my little brush tip and just very lightly kind of blend it back. Okay, so that is it for the little face. I'll go ahead and set this color off to the side. The next color that I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on his hair. So I color matched for my little guy's hair, and so I'm going to be doing a little brunette or brown hair. I'm going to be doing two different colors. I am going to do BR2, which is a potato brown, and BR1, which is raw lumber. For me, I like to start with the lighter color and then transfer to the darker color and then go back to the lighter color. Go ahead and approach this any way that you like. As long as you're having fun and it's turning out how you'd like, then go ahead and use the method that you prefer. So again, I'm going to locate, the fine point tip, and I'm just going to begin coloring his hair. And again, I'm using the lighter of the two browns that I pulled. So I'm going to go ahead, color nicely in. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and grab my darker color, again using that fine point tip, and I'm going to add a little bit of dark shadow just to that little left side, just like that. Okay, I'm keeping it very simple. Then I'm going to grab my light color once more, but this time I'm going to locate the brush side, and I'm going to use that brush just to kind of pull and create a mid-tone and pull that dark into the light, and then it's just going to kind of blend itself out. Now I do find that if you wait a couple moments and as you keep coloring, it does kind of blend even more and more. So sometimes when you're starting it, you're like, ooh, I don't know if this is looking good. And then you kind of let it settle and everything kind of just settles down, if you will. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but it makes sense to me. It just kind of settles out. Okay, before we move on from the face, I'm going to grab this color, which is Fruit Pink. It's R21. And I'm going to, again, use that fine tip just to add some cheeks. So I'm going to add one little cheek here and one little cheek here. Okay, so that's really fun and cute. Now I'm going to move on to the actual astronaut body and uniform or suit. And I'm going to grab two different colors of gray. I'm going to be grabbing my CG200, which is cool gray 2, and then CG2, which is a cool gray 22, or I don't even know, but CG200 and CG2. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and grab those two, again, using the fine point tip. I'm going to color the helmet, and I'm just going to color it in its entirety. And I'll also go through and color most of the astronaut suit. Okay, and I really like this color. It's a very subtle gray, but it's there. You can definitely see it. I'm going to go ahead and do the little hands. And again, this is up to you on what you want to do, what color combos you like. I like the colors that I chose. They're just colors that I think look really well together, so that's why I decided to do them. But if you wanted to take this in a completely different direction, then by all means, this is your project. I'm going to go ahead and finish up by doing the pants as well. And then I should be about good. I think that looks nice. Okay, now I'm going to bring the darker of the grays in, again, using that fine tip. I'm going to come in and do a little bit of shading, but keeping that lighter gray off to the side because I'm not quite done with it. I'm going to add a little bit of shading to the left of his helmet. Just bringing in a couple swipes, just like that. And then I'm going to do it right on the little mitten, if you will, or the hand. And then just kind of along the left sides. I'm thinking the light, or obviously I'm working as if the light is coming from the left. So I'm going to add a little bit here and here. Okay. So now that I have added a little bit of shading, I want to blend that out. So I'm grabbing my lighter gray, again locating the brush side, and then I'm just going to brush and kind of pull that darker gray out and into the rest of the piece, creating a little bit of a mid-tone. So anywhere that I added that dark gray, I'm just going to kind of brush it out very, very subtly and easily, just like that. Okay, and again, it just kind of settles out and then it looks super dimensional. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to work on the earth, but I'm also going to be bringing in some of these colors back into the suit too, so that everything just kind of coordinates well together. So I'm going to grab this really nice blue. It's my favorite color in this piece. It's so pretty. It's called Marine Blue, and I just love it. It's also going to work really, really well with this colored cardstock. I'm going to use the fine point tip again, and I am going to color this little area here, kind of on his little center of his suit. And I am also going to do his little boots. Okay, and because these little pieces are so tiny, I'm not going to focus on a lot of shading. In fact, the only thing I'm going to do for these particular parts of the stamp and image is I'm just going to add a tad more ink just to the left side. Again, I'm going to be having the light come from the left, so that's where I'm going to be focusing my light direction and shadow. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the earth, and most of this is going to be blue for the water, so I'll start coloring that in. Again, this is honestly the most relaxing part for me. And I don't really have any coloring experience. I'm sure so many others do this so much better, but I'm having fun with it, and I'm also really happy with how things are turning out. So I'm just kind of riding that wave of, you know, having fun and being creative, and that really fun feeling that you get in your tummy when you think, actually, I really, really like how this looks. I love that look. Okay. So I have my blue there. Now what I'm going to do, again, I'm only going to be using one color of blue. I'm going to go again on that left side, and I'm just going to add a little bit more. So I'm just going to add more on this side, just like this, and maybe a little bit down here as well. And then I'm just going to flip it on over to that brush side and just pull it on out and just kind of blend it in. And then down here as well. And I should be done with my blue. Okay, that looks really, really nice. And again, it will settle on out and it'll be really pretty. Okay, let's continue with this nice green. This is G9. It's called Meadow Green. I've used this before and I really like it. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of green on the little parts of his suit that kind of are the connection points. So right at the base of that helmet, at the arms, and at the waist. Okay, it's just a really nice kind of dark sage. It's really pretty. And then I'm going to bring that in over at the earth again to do the little land pieces. I think it's going to be really pretty. So I'll go ahead and just color those in and then add a little bit of shading. Again, I'm only going to be using one color here. I didn't pull two greens, but it turns out really nice, so I like it. Okay, adding my first little layer. Then I'm going to go back in and I'm just going to add a little bit more ink. Again, with the light coming this way, I'm just going to kind of shadow it. Or would it be the light coming the other way? I'm not even... Well, it would be this way if you had then something blocking it, I suppose. I'm not sure. Well, it's making sense to me. As long as you're keeping the area or your light source going the same direction through everything, then you're good to go. Okay. Science is not my strong suit. Okay. Crafting is my strong suit. Okay. So now I'm going to grab this yellow very simply. I'm adding, let's see, I wanted to do the little circle one yellow. This is Sunflower, I believe. It's Y2. And then my final one, this is actually R6 Rose Red, but it's such a nice deep red. And I thought it looked really nice. So I'm just going to add it to this little rectangle. And I think that is such a nice and polished look. Okay, I didn't need to use my extra set here, so yay, that's really exciting. I'm going to grab this and save this for a little bit later. So what I'll do is I'll just cut this off. I'll save this for when I make more of these invites, so it's all ready to go. And I did purchase the coordinating dies for this stamp set. I love getting coordinating dies when I can. And I'm going to go ahead and get those placed around here, and I'm going to send those through my machine. Okay, so locating the dies that I will need, I'm going to need the astronaut. I'll also need one of the circles that will fit the earth. That one is not correct. This one. Okay. Go ahead and use my tape. And then I'm going to position it just so it cuts out perfect. And I'll tape them down. Okay, I like how those look. I'm going to tape them down so that the dies don't move. I'll go ahead and send this through my spellbinders really quick to cut them out, and then we will start building this card. It's going to go quick from here. Okay, so I did go ahead and cut those out. I'm going to gently remove them. Here's the little earth. So pretty, and I love the pressed edges that accompany these little die cuts, and look at the little astronaut. And I really, really like the blending. I think that looks so sleek, so pretty. Okay, let's go ahead and begin building this invitation. So I'm going to grab the base that we went ahead and built earlier on. I'm going to grab a piece of tape, and I'm just going to secure it so that nothing moves as I am getting everything ready to go. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to go ahead and I'm going to set these to the side and work on the little letters. I'm going to grab some glue. I'm going to be using this art glitter glue. I really, really like it. And I'm also going to use, if I can find some tweezers, I'm going to use some tweezers to build up the little word one. Okay, so sorting through the pieces that I need here. That way, once I start gluing, I can just go quickly. Okay, that is where I'm going with that. Okay, so let me bring this up just a hair. Whoops, there we go. And I'm gonna just start gluing. Let me see if this is going to come out nice. Yep, it's good to go. So let's start with the O. I'm just going to grab one of my white pieces, and it does not take a lot of glue at all. So I'm just gonna put some little dots on the back of my letter, and then I'm just going to build these upon one another, and this just makes it look really dimensional and thick, which really makes the card look nice and expensive, if you will. It makes it just look, oh my goodness, that looks so nice, I guess. I don't know how. It just makes it look really polished and pretty. Kind of reminds me of chipboard. Once you've done it, it's just really nice and thick. And if you wanted to use thicker paper, you could do that too, to just build it up quicker or give it even more of a lift, if you will. But again, 2 white, 1 blue. You could do all of it in the colored cardstock. Again, I was just running a little low on that, so I did not. But you won't notice. You really won't. Okay, so we have that there. Whoops. And then I will go through and just do all of the other letters, building them all up. Again, just a little bit of glue is all that's needed. I find the tweezers to be super helpful too. That way you can kind of whoop, get it positioned the best you can. Pick it up real quick and then just kind of press it into place. And it's good to go. This alphabet set is very easy to stack just because of its kind of block nature. It's not really overly delicate, if you will. So it's pretty easy to stack and have fun with. So far, at least, is what I found. Okay, and then just kind of pressing those together, we have our next one. Looks really nice. Okay, O, N, and then our E's. Okay, now this is a little stitched alphabet, so there are little stitch lines on the top, and what that means is glue can go through there, so you do want to be, as you can see how I pressed and glue came through. Don't freak out, because once it dries you will not see it. I've done these enough to know that it'll be just fine, but I just wanted you to be mindful of that too. Try to use less glue, but also be gracious to yourself if you see glue seeping through, because it'll dry clear and you'll never know. Okay, so we have our little letters, we have our little pieces of little astronaut, and we have our earth. And now we are going to start building this up. So this is going to be super cute. I can't wait. I'm going to use a little bit of foam tape on the back of these two pieces. And I'm just going to use that same foam tape that I used to build up my card base, using just about that much and that much. Does not take much, but it will add a little bit of dimension to the back of these little cuties. One here, and this little guy's gonna go here. I love it. So what I'm envisioning is that the viewer is standing inside of the space shuttle, and they are looking out this circular window, and outside of the window they see our cute little astronaut floating and the earth as well. Now, being mindful that I want my shading going in the correct direction, so because I have my shading on the left here, I want to rotate the earth so that the shading matches, if you will, and that looks great. Okay, so now what I will do is, I think that looks good. I think I'll commit. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my little piece here, take my little foam tape off, and I'm just gonna plop the little guy down. So cute. Again, being mindful of where my shading is. Okay. And I'm gonna go, I think, right here. Okay. Super nice. Okay, I'm going to add a couple more embellishments within this little window area in a moment, but let's go ahead while we are here and do the one. I thought this would be really pretty to break up all of this white space with a really contrasting navy blue and spell out the word one. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to grab, I like to start in the middle and go out from there. Grabbing my N, therefore, adding some glue. And then I'm just going to center that where I'd like it. Okay, and that looks good to me. And then from there, I will situate the O and the E. For me, it just is easiest to go middle out. But do however you wish. Now, this O is a little bit more oval in nature and not an exact circle, so you'll just kind of have to play around with that. I love that. Okay, and then I have a little bit of paper, like a little paper hair, if that makes sense. A little straggler there. Let me get that off. There we go. Okay, clean that off really nice. In fact, I have one right here too. I might need to replace my cutting plates pretty soon. Okay, that looks really nice. Okay, I cleaned up that N a little bit, had a little bit of kind of those little fuzzy hairs that come off from not getting as perfect and crisp of a cut. I've been using my cutting plates like crazy, so it may be time to get some new ones. I've had some in my Amazon cart for a week now, so I might just have to say bye now. Okay, placing this little guy here. I think that looks good, spacing wise. And we are all set. Oh, I love that. I love it. Okay, let's add a little bit of shine, but again, this is going to be a little boy birthday invitation, so I want to keep it pretty boyish, but I could not help but use these cute little stars. I thought I would add just some really, really fun shine to the card while still being boyish, but also it fits really well with the theme. So I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to place them at random, but I kind of want them to be a little bit like a constellation. So I'm just going to have them be more sporadic and not necessarily follow any placement rules here. So I'm going to go with a total of 5, and that is going to be my final card. I love it. Well, I call it a card, which it is a card, but final invitation is what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, gently remove this tape. I love how this turned out. I think it's so sweet. And then what I do is I actually just use a Word program on my computer, and I print out an actual invite, and then I just glue it onto the inside. That way it's really nice and crisp and it looks really pretty. And what I decided to do was just match that nice blue for the text on the inside. But here is the final invite. I think it looks really neat. I like the random placement of the stars because I think it does kind of resemble the look of a constellation. But I also really like the added texture of that subtle embossing folder that we added. I thought that just looked really, really nice. The shading with the alcohol markers, I think, is one of the best parts. I think it's really fun. It adds some visual dimension, and I think that this little cutie turned out super cute. So here are the invites. I hope you really love them. I love them. And now I need to make quite a few more. When making things in multiples, I find it easiest to actually do things in zones or do things in batches. So what I decided to do was I cut all of my 110-pound cardstock, and what I did is I made sure that I scored everything, folded it all in one step, and then I did my embossing folders next on all of my cards. Then what I did is I grabbed my panel, I cut out my circle and used my A2 layer to trim it down all in one step, doing one after another. Then the next thing that I decided was best was to cut out all of the letters and keep them all in small piles. That way they were all ready to go for building the card. And finally, I grabbed my Misty and then I actually stamped all of my little earth pieces and astronaut pieces one by one, all back to back. That way all my stamping was done in one step as well. I did this because I thought it would be easiest to have all of the things done and in their little piles. Then I could go to the building and assembling process. I think it would be a lot more tiring to build from start to finish each card one by one. So I decided to do all of the card bases, all of the embossing, all of the coloring, all of the stamping, all of the die cutting, all at once. And I thought that that was easiest, and then comes the assembling. Okay, the final card / invite is done. The only thing I need to do is put the details actually inside each of the invitations, but holy moly, I love them. They are so cute. In total, I have made 8 of them, 7 today for you. Well, including the first one I did slowly to give you the step-by-step process, but this was a labor of love. I love how they turned out. I have a thing about hand making the first birthday invite for each of my kiddos. It's just something that was important to me. I enjoy doing it, so it's something that I have done for each one of my kiddos. But will all of them look exactly the same? No, but you know what? They are just beautiful. I love them. I love that my vision just really translated well in paper and looks well down on paper. So I'm just really enjoying how these turned out. All right, so the party prep continues. Okay, so I've had these cute little ceramic mason jars for quite a while. I think I got them at Michael's, and it was years ago. I mean, I'm talking at least 5 years ago, but I bring them out every once in a while to decorate for a variety of things. And I also am going to use them for this little birthday party. So I have 3 of them here. They're really cute. They have, one side has the little mason jar embellishments on it, and then there are 3 blank sides. So I'm going to focus on the blank sides, and I'm going to create some little utensil containers or holders for the little birthday. So I thought this would be really fun. So these are just going to sit on the party table to hold forks, knives, and spoons, and I thought it'd be fun just to dress them up. It's a really easy way to really dress up a little party, and we're simply just going to apply vinyl to them. So I am simply going to take some rubbing alcohol, and I am going to just spray the tops of each one. That's just removing any of the oils or dust from the surface. I did run these through the dishwasher to get them all prepped and ready, but still any handling can place oil on the surface, which can just disrupt the vinyl when you're placing it down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I am doing this with the intention of, after the party, removing this vinyl. So I thought it would just be fun to have these decorated, but of course I'm not going to want this theme forever and ever. So I will go ahead and, after the party, just remove it. So I have a really nice navy vinyl here. And what I did was I simply went into Design Space, cut this out on my Cricut. I have it all designed. I'm gonna spell out 1, but instead, whoops, let me get the little E there. Come here. Where are you going? Instead of doing a 0, I thought it'd be cute to do an earth. And I'm making a little mess of this E, so I might need to do a little bit of surgery to, there we go. I have to help that little guy along. But instead of the O, I'm going to do a little earth just to tie in that little space theme. Let me see if I can realign this little guy. And I just used the scraps that I have on hand. So, you know, 2022 for me is all about using what I have in my craft space, and I have done really well. And it's really gratifying because this little piece, right, was originally going to be tossed, but I got a whole entire piece of party decor out of it, and I didn't have to go buy anything new. So it's really encouraging to get my mind around like shopping my craft space. And once you start, it kind of gets really addicting to kind of make a deal with yourself to not, you know, hurry and rush out and buy anything brand new, but instead look to see what you have. So anyway, we're going to do O-N-E. So I'm going to trim these apart, grab some transfer tape, and then we're going to place them on each one. Okay, grabbing that transfer tape. Let me know how you're doing at shopping your craft space. I know a lot of you were encouraged to do it yourself. Every once in a while I'll get comments of, or from you saying how it's going. So let me know how you're doing with that little challenge yourself. I'm really enjoying it. Plus, I really like the feeling of emptying out drawers, right? Or seeing things that I have really wanted to use for a long time finally be used, because I feel like as crafters, and it may be just me, so I don't want to talk for everybody, but I feel like sometimes we are quick to add to cart, and with with really great intentions of using and creating, but then either something else begins trending at the moment and then we put that off to the side, or we just don't have the time, and all of a sudden that one thing that we were really excited to buy has been sitting for a while, right? At least that is definitely the case for me. So it's just really exciting to finally see some of these things be used, plus all the little scraps be used as well. Okay, this was just an image in Cricut Design Space. So I think I might have just typed in earth, but I'm just going to center that as best I can. I think that looks great. And then I'll rub that down, reinforced with my scraper. And there we go. Okay, first one down. I'm going to reuse the same piece for all of my little jars and pieces of vinyl. We'll go with the N. And I will try, I think this was DTC, is it Barn Acre? I believe this was a Cricut Design Space font for the N and the E. I really like it. I've used it a time or two, and it's just a really nice basic font, but it has the really nice, are they called serifs when they have the little dips on them? Anyway, they have that really nice straight edge on the top and bottom, which I think is really nice. So being mindful to kind of keep these together so that I can have them aligned, right? So doing right about there. I think that looks fine. Okay, so here goes the N. So this is super simple. Little tiny pieces of vinyl, just decorating little, containers. You could also just use plastic cups and decorate plastic cups. You don't have to have anything fancy. Again, I just have these on hand and I really like the look of them. They're really nice, and you can really make them look quite different for anything just based on how you decorate them. So they're really nice. And so basically, anything that you have, any type of cup, any type of jar, you can decorate them really quickly, and it's a fun way to hold your little forks, knives, and spoons instead of just putting them on the table. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's an easy way to provide a piece of decor, but a functional piece of decor. So that's what I like to do. It just kind of keeps it fun. Okay, and then the E right here. Okay, I think that looks good. So finishing up this last little piece. Now I'm crossing off utensil holders off my to-do list, but then adding on buy forks, knives, and spoons. You know how it is when you're getting ready for something, right? You cross one thing off and add two things more, for sure. Okay, that is done. I think those look really nice, and I love the navy contrast on the nice cream ceramic. I think that looks just really clean and polished. I'll probably aim for trying to find some navy spoons and forks and knives for the inside. I think that will look really, really nice. Okay, one piece of party decor and prep done, and let's go ahead and move to the next project. The next thing I want to do is I want to make a cute little shirt, and I really ran with this idea for the insides of his invites. Now, I didn't show you the inside of the invite when I was doing the putting together the invites, but I ran with the idea of something about your first trip around the sun, turning one after the first trip around the sun. I really thought that that was just the cutest saying. So I actually did find an SVG. I'll link it down below in case you want to purchase it and recreate this yourself, but it says something about the first trip around the sun. I thought that was just so cute. So I'm going to go ahead and use a really nice navy iron-on, and I'm going to make a little onesie. And I thought it would just be a really fun way to tie in the cute little theme and make a little piece of apparel. Now, quite honestly, I don't know that he's going to actually wear this on party day, but I'm going to bring it for, you know how it is with first birthday, and they have their first little cupcake or cake, and they can get quite messy. So I'm bringing it, I think, as a little backup for after, if we get cake everywhere, which usually is the case. Although I feel like one of my little ones really dove in. I have 3 kiddos. I feel like my first really dove in. I could be misremembering. Really dove into the cake and thought it was fun. And I think my second one kind of maybe stuck her nose up at it. I don't know that she Oh gosh, it seems like yesterday, but at the same time it feels like a long time ago, so I might be misremembering, but I know I had some opposite reactions from my kiddos with that first little texture and taste of cake. So anyway, all that to say, I think I'm going to bring this not as an actual first birthday outfit for the party, but his little change into his second look, if you will, right? I thought that would be kind of fun. Okay, so now you could also take a True Control knife and cut this out before weeding it, so you save this. So letting you know that. I didn't this time, but you can take that step if you would like to save materials. You know I'm big on that, but this time I did not. Okay, grabbing my little iron-on pieces. Get them all weeded out nice. Iron-on is my favorite to weed. It's forgiving, it's easy. Don't forget to mirror your image and place your material shiny side down when cutting it out. So this is the surrounding area. Then out of gold foil iron-on, which is one of my favorites. Whoops, gotta turn it over. Weed the back. There was a little sunshine, and I thought that would look so pretty out of gold foil. So that's, and again, I went through my scrap bin for both of these, and I'm putting together a party on little pieces here and there. Just little pieces here and there. It's all coming together. Okay, I think that looks good. Okay, so it's going to look something like this. How cute. Okay, what I need to do is I have a little onesie here. Let's keep everything organized. I have my heat press all ready to go, and it is at 315 because we're going to do the solid iron-on first. Then I'm going to cool my press down, and we will then do the foil iron-on second. So first I am going to preheat my onesie to make sure that I remove any wrinkles and also any moisture. Okay, just placing my onesie here. Now they do make little pads that you can put inside your onesie to build it up. That way the seams don't interfere with a nice even press. You know how the seams are a little bit bulkier on the side. I've never had problems because of the pressure of my press, so I skip that. But if you would like to take that step, you certainly can. But I'm going to go ahead and just press, and I'm doing about 5 to 10 seconds. That should be plenty. It's just going to allow that to get the moisture out, but also give it a quick little iron. Okay, so that was 10 seconds, and now let's go ahead and get everything ready to put on. Okay, so that's nice and crisp. And now I'm going to take my lint roller, just remove any lint from the top. Okay. And then I am going to start with my solid iron-on. And I'm just going to eyeball it. I tend to have really good luck with that. Grab a ruler or a measuring tape if you want to get a little bit more precise alignment, or if you just need a little guidance with that. There's no problem with that. I'm going about 1 inch from that collar line. That's what I like to do for little onesies, and I think that looks great. Okay, I like it. I'm going to go ahead, take it to my press, and I am going to press it at 315 for 30 seconds. Okay, placing it on, just like that, and press. Okay, here we go. I'm going to let this cool down. So what I like to do is I just like to take it to a cool surface, and just like a countertop, and just let it cool down. It draws the heat out faster. And then I am going to cool off my machine to, I think it's 295 degrees. Okay, this has cooled very nicely. So I'm just going to peel this up. Perfect. Oh, it laid down so nice. Okay, making sure that this is cooling it down. And then we will press the last piece. So while that is cooling down, I am simply going to place my next piece. Let's see, just like that. I think that looks nice and centered. And just wait, I mean, it's pretty right now, but wait until we pull off this carrier sheet. It's so beautiful. Now, you don't want to expose your iron-on to your heat. So what I mean is if it doesn't have any, you see how this one has that cover sheet on it? You don't want to have exposed iron-on going on your heat press. So what I do is you can either do two things. You can either take your sheet that you just pulled off of your iron-on and just place that right on top. That way it's protecting it from the heat. Or you can use a piece of parchment paper, that works as well. I have this heat protective mat. Now they do not sell this anymore. I get a million questions on my channel about where I got this. They must have stopped selling this a long time ago. It's kind of like a Teflon sheet, if you will, but I just put it right on top. It provides a nice barrier from the exposed iron-on and my heat source. But again, you can also just use the liner that you just pulled off from that layer or just a piece of parchment paper. Whatever you do, just put a nice little barrier between that and your heat source just to protect that iron-on from your heat. Okay, so let's go ahead and just press this piece down as well. But I wanted to mention that so you know what I'm doing when I place that on top. Okay, looks like we're at 298. We're aiming for 295, but I'm calling it close enough because Mama has a lot to do today. Okay, placing my protective sheet right over there, and I will press down for 30 seconds. There we go. We'll let this cool and then peel this up and we will be all done. Okay, I'm gonna let this cool. Again, placing it on a cool surface just so that it draws the heat out quicker. While we're waiting for that, I have to show you. I found this cute plate. How stinking cute is this? I found this plate. I love the little almost pie crust edge on it. It's so neat and it has raised edges on it. It's a beautiful plate. Look at the nice colorful happy birthday to me. But then at the top of his little hat, there's a little indent in here where you can put a candle. Isn't that so sweet? I thought this would be super fun to have for his first birthday, for his little cupcake or slice of cake, and then you have a little place for the candle. So of course I saw this and had to instantly add to cart. And being the mama that I am, I had to get some for my girls as well. So look at the girl version. How cute is this? Again, the little pom-pom of the party hat has that little area for the candle. How sweet. So I will link these down below because I found these and just instantly had to have them. I thought they were so cute. Plus, I love things that you can pull out every year on their birthday because when they grow and become adults, it's the little things they remember, right? And little things like this, like the little plate that you put the candle in. Oh, I just thought that they would really have fun with these. And I thought this would be just a little fun addition to their little annual birthday and birthday treat. So I had to share those because I found those as part of putting this little party together and I just couldn't resist. Plus, it's just so sweet. Okay, I think we are about good and I'm gonna peel this off. There we go. Now, if you notice any lifting, you can place your liner right back over and add some additional heat, but look, and let me tell you, see, when I pulled that off, how much, I mean, it gives just that much more oomph to it, right? It's just so neat. I think it's really, really fun. I like the addition of the nice navy, just a nice solid navy, but then having fun with a little foil on there as well. One of my most popular videos on my channel is with foil iron-on, and it's so easy to use. It's something that can be viewed as a little intimidating because it's different, right? But it's so easy. So I'll link that up in the corner because I made a beautiful foil iron-on shirt for myself years ago, and I still love it so much. So hope you enjoyed this little part of the party prep because I certainly did. I think that's adorable. Okay, let's move on to creating even more things and crossing more things off my list. The next thing I want to begin working on are the little party boxes or party favors that the little friends will take home. So I found these at Hobby Lobby, shopping my craft space, because I found these at Hobby Lobby or maybe Michael's, but probably 2 to 3 years ago. And I think I was getting ready for one of my daughter's birthdays and ended up maybe running in a different direction, but I've had these and I thought I have got to use these for a party, and this is the party for it. So I have cut out some items. Now I put this to the side because for the little stars on these little party boxes, I use this adhesive foil. It's the matte metallic. And I will say, I think that I struggled with this more than I should. It was really difficult for me to weed. So I just want to make sure if you use this, it's very beautiful. It's going to provide a really fun texture and a really fun shine, but make sure you do a test cut, because don't do as I do, but do as I say, right? Or did I mix that up? But make sure that you do a little test cut, because I did not find that I cut deep enough on mine. And if I would have done a test cut, I probably would have saved myself a lot of struggle with weeding, because it took me a while to weed those, because I was trying to not rip them, I guess, as I was weeding them. If you've ever not cut deep enough, you know what I mean when I say you kind of want to keep going with it, but it makes it worse to weed. So just go ahead and do a test cut on those, and hopefully it works better for you. I need to work with it a little bit more. I got the sampler pack, and it came with a lot of different colors. So hopefully I can play along with it a little bit more and test some cut settings, but my initial one didn't work as I wanted it to. I still got it done, but it was a labor of love. Okay, I am using that same little earth image that I had found in Cricut Design Space, and the stars that I am using I also found in Cricut Design Space. I did a nice solid navy for the earth, and then again I did that matte metallic adhesive vinyl, for, let me take this one off, for the stars, just to add a little bit of variation. And I'm going to decorate these little party boxes that we can fill just little fun things in for our little party friends. Okay, last one, super easy. With each craft I get done, I am more and more ready, which makes me feel so good. Okay, and finally, just the surrounding area, revealing all of our little earth. Whoops, oh, Bethany, see, I'm getting too quick. I'm getting too excited. You know when you had things on your to-do list for quite a while, and then when you start seeing them get completed, you just get almost a little too excited. Okay, so I have these boxes. They come flattened, but then you can, it comes like this, and then you literally just open and press down, and then it becomes the box. I don't want to press it all the way down yet, because I do want to keep them flattened until I'm ready to use them. Plus, I want to keep them flat as I am getting my designs on them. So I'm going to try using my regular clear grid line transfer tape for this and see how it works. I want it to be gentle because this is more of a cardboard paper, so I don't want it to rip, but let me test it and see how it does. If not, I have a paper transfer tape that's a lot more low tack, but I kind of feel like this is going to need just a little bit more stickiness to pull up, but we'll see. Okay, grabbing a fresh piece, and we'll see how far I can get this piece going. Okay, grabbing, let's see, I don't need any more of that or that. Here we go. And I like to burnish the front and the back. Oops. And, oh, there. Oh, that pulls up so nice. Okay, so far it's playing nicely. So I want to do you see the little rectangle I'm working with here? So this is the front, but obviously it's gonna be placed like this. It's probably hard for you to see the score line, but I can see it just fine, and I'm going to just line that up where I'd like it. And I'm simply just gonna decorate the front of these little boxes and just make them a little bit more exciting, give them a little theme. Oh, that plays really nicely with the box. So I'm happy with that. That's very nice. Okay, I'm going to do one from start to finish with you, and then I'll finish up the rest on my own. That way we can get this done. Okay, peeling it upside down. Again, I like to peel that. Oops, this is a little thinner. I like to peel the backer away from the vinyl. And then I'm just going to place this little earth right in the middle of those stars, and I think that's pretty darn cute. Now the stars, I just pulled in one star and then I sized them differently and placed them around. Then once I had them where I wanted them, I welded them together. Of course, that means I am wasting a little bit of vinyl in the middle because I have them all cut and then I'm, you know, I don't have obviously anything here. When I'm doing things like this where I have to get a lot done in a short amount of time, it's worth it to me to waste a little bit of material in order to get things done right and get things done a little quicker. So you don't have to do it that way. You could just cut out a bunch of stars and then manually place them. But sometimes, well, actually most of the time I am much better about saving materials, but sometimes materials just are wasted for the sake of time. And you know what? I do that unapologetically. There is, oops, let me push that down. One of my little stars. There is my first little box. How cute is that? And then it will just fold and then fold like that with some cute little party things inside. That is so cute. And I love the shine of the little foil stars. So sweet. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest done so we can move on. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7. So it must have come in a 10 pack. Yes. So I have 2 extras, and these would be fun to save aside for little teacher gifts or something like that. So I'll save these for another little project down the road. I'm sure I'm going to need cute little boxes eventually, or, you know, if you wanted to give something to a neighbor and put it in a cute little box and decorate it any way you'd like. So these were definitely worth it. I'm glad I'm finally using them. Okay, finishing off my last box, and I have to say, as tricky as this was to cut, this foil adhesive vinyl is like butter to work with. It's so easy. I thought that this was going to be a lot harder to get off of the carrier sheet and to work with in regards to using the transfer tape, but it kind of redeemed itself in my eyes. So I just need to figure out the cut settings and kind of play around with it a little bit more. It was my own fault, complete user error, because I always tell you and recommend that you do a cut test or a test cut, especially because, you know, I can tell you exactly how I would cut something on my machine, but all machines, just like anything, everything's created differently. So just because something may work on my machine doesn't mean it might necessarily work on your machine. You may need more pressure, less pressure. You just have to get to know your own machine sometimes. 99% of the time, the cut settings are perfect as is, but sometimes you might run into an issue where you just need to add a little bit more pressure or less pressure. But I say that because those test cuts, there's something to be said about them. They're very helpful. So I kind of got myself in trouble by not doing that. Okay, there we go. But you know what? Minus the test cut, look, they all worked out. And I played around with, you know, doing the trio of stars on one side and then maybe doing them on the other side. And, you know, the earth looks different in most of them. They kind of rotated them around, but I think these look really cute. Now I just have to fill them with some little treats and they will be ready to go. Okay, let's go ahead and work on the next project. I think I'm going to start working on, let's do another piece of decor. Then I have a shaker cake topper. I think it's going to turn out super cute. And then we have the high chair banner. So lots of things to continue working on, but another thing done. Okay, but first coffee, my goodness. Oh my gosh. Okay. Caffeine sometimes, you know, crafts fueled by caffeine. So I have had this, shopping my craft space again, I've had this acrylic magnetic frame for quite a while. I think I found it at Home Goods. I found it probably in 2019 when I was just starting my channel, maybe 2020. And I intended to put a picture in it, and I still do, because like I said, I am decorating stuff right now for a party with the intention of reusing this stuff, because I probably won't want this little astronaut theme on this acrylic blank forever. So probably after this, I'll take the vinyl off, and then I can put a picture of the kids in there, maybe personalize it with their names on the bottom, and have it for decor in my home. So lots of different ways you can use this, but I thought it would be a really fun little piece of decor for the birthday. So what I'm going to do, instead of putting, I'm going to try to do a little bit of rubbing alcohol on the front. Hopefully I don't smear it. Probably would be better with glass cleaner, but I don't have any. Okay, so I'm just going to clean that off. It does have some little scratches on it because it's been in my craft room forever, but finding a purpose for it today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a piece of tape. I have a nice piece of scrapbook paper here that I just had in my stash, and I'm just going to put one piece of tape right on the back, and I'm going to sandwich this piece of tape in between these acrylic pieces just to give a nice background for my little decor here. Okay, now if you didn't have a blank like this, you could do this with a picture frame. I like having kind of like picture frame type items for the tabletop for party decor, but look how cute that is. I think that looks really nice. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I found a cute SVG. I'll link it down below, and I'm going to put a cute little SVG on here, and it's going to be obviously out of white vinyl, and it'll be a really nice contrast against this nice green. And I went with kind of, you know, planet and earth tones. I took the planet earth and kind of pulled tones from that, and then sprinkled in, of course, the gold stars, and that's kind of where I'm running color-wise with this party. Okay, I'm gonna need a lot more. One of the best things about this transfer tape is you can kind of set your piece up against it and then cut to size. Looks good. There we go. I love this transfer tape. It's so good. I bought it on a whim just to try out something new, and pretty much fell in love with the love of my life in terms of transfer tape. Did you know you could fall in love with transfer tape? Because I sure didn't. But if you've ever worked with a transfer tape that has been awful, then you know when you meet the one that works as it should, you have all the heart eyes. Okay, oops, I got a little bit of something on there. Okay, now placing my transfer tape over my design. Sorry that this is white on white. I am finishing up this roll. In fact, I think I finished it. I've been trying to finish up this roll of transfer tape that is on a white backer, but usually I use the Oracle that has the blue backer because it's easier for me to weed because I can see the contrast, and it's also easier for you to see when you're watching me get things done. But in the theme of this year, shopping my craft space and using what I have. Okay, now you can kind of see this little SVG take shape here. Okay, I may grab the parchment paper. I think it will help me line it up. The parchment paper method is gold. Okay, so honestly, just using a scrap of what I have, I'm going to place the parchment paper. No, let's do it here. Place the parchment paper here. Place my design, all but just about, well, okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll show you in just a second. Let me get my mind wrapped around it here. Okay, I'm going to place all but just a little bit of the transfer tape on my parchment paper, okay? Then the parchment paper is going to provide a barrier on my blank so that I don't have to commit to laying my transfer tape in one spot right away. So I'm just going to line it up and see how I can see through that parchment paper. I'm going to line it up where I'd like it the best I can. And then when I'm happy with the placement, you're going to see my head for just a second because I really want this to turn out. Okay. And it has definitive, you know, border lines on here. So it is important that it is accurate or it's just going to look off. Hopefully I did it. Okay. So once you, oops, I just shifted it. Okay. Once you have it where you want, you can just press that little exposed area of transfer tape there to kind of commit to the stick, right? Then you can slowly pull. Actually, sometimes you have to kind of pull this up. And I go little by little. Slowly pull. And then, here we go. Oh, I think I did a pretty good job. Okay. Burnishing down. See that contrast? Plus the dimension is so cool because of that thick acrylic. There's quite a bit of space between that paper and then the SVG. Let's see, probably about 3/4 of an inch. So the dimension, and it's kind of creating some shadowing. It's so cool. I might actually, since he has a little space themed room, I'll probably just put this in his room after the party. Is probably what I'll do. How cute is that? Do you see what I'm talking about with the dimension? Do you see how you can see the shadowing behind there? That is really cool. And then look in here too. You can kind of see a little fun, see how it's playing with the glass on the side or the acrylic on the side. That's really neat. I love that. Okay, I'm definitely going to put this in his room once the party's over. I think that's super fun. Okay, so now done with another piece of party decor. And next let's do the shaker card. Or not shaker card. Let's do the shaker cake topper. I think this is going to be super, super neat. Okay, I'm super, super excited to do this shaker cake topper. I think this is going to be so neat. Okay, so I bought these little foil stars off of Amazon, and I'm going to use this to fill the little shaker number. And then I bought a little template off of Etsy, I think, for making the little shaker cake toppers. So look how pretty this is. Plus I can use this for additional shaker cards. I wasn't quite sure how many came in a pack, so I made sure to buy obviously more than I should because I really, really wanted to make sure I had enough, first of all, but also they're really neat. So I thought, if I have extra, I can definitely use them for other things. I just got this out of our kitchen. It is just a little skewer. So that's what I'm going to use for my little dowel, if you will, to place the cake topper into the cake. And I trimmed it down a little bit on the top. And then I have my little pieces here. So I have a little outline layer. I do have a piece of acetate. I did cut my acetate on the Cricut, and I'll go into that in a little bit. I have another little shadow layer. It's kind of it's going to sandwich these two pieces together, I believe. And then I have two other pieces that are offset from one another. And this all came together in a set. So I just went through and cut them out individually. So I did these on cardstock and then again on acetate. For the acetate, it was my first time cutting out acetate on my Cricut Explorer 3. And what I did was I could not find, for some reason, an acetate cut setting. So I went with the heavy cardstock setting with more pressure. And then once it cut out, I did not unload my machine, but I checked it. I noticed it wasn't quite cut out, so I ran it through once more, and then it cut out really, really good. And then what I did was I ran it through with the little, if you can see, it has little layers on top of it. It has this protective film, so I ran it through just like that. So again, I did heavy cardstock with more pressure, and I ran it through 2 times. Be sure between running it through that you don't unload your mat because it can misalign your mat. If you want a tutorial on cutting acetate on a Cricut, let me know and I will do my best to add it to the long list of things that I'm going to be working on in the future. But It was pretty easy, just had to kind of play around with it. Again, in the theme of test cuts, make sure you do a test cut if you're unsure. So what I'm going to do is I need to be mindful that my first layer needs to hide this dowel inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring some foam tape in, and we're going to play around with getting this dowel placed in, and then we'll work on building up this shaker cake topper. Okay, so I did bring in my hot glue. I think it would be nice to commit to placing that with hot glue and then building up around it with some foam tape. So I think I'll do that. So let me wait for this to heat up. In the meantime, I'll just kind of get my layers in order here so I know what is coming up. Okay, I think we probably have enough here. So being mindful here, I think about right here is good. Place a bead of glue. Whoops, got a little misaligned there, but that's not a big deal. Bead of glue here. Okay. And I'm just going to set that there. And being careful to get it pretty straight though. Okay. Well, I don't know if I got it perfectly straight, but it should be okay. Okay. We will make sure it's straight on the cake. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab some foam tape, and I might need to double layer this. And I keep a pair of scissors just for sticky stuff like this. That way I don't worry about the blades getting all gunky. And I think because that dowel is so thick, I'm gonna double up. And I'm just going to go right on top of that, just like that. Okay, that way I can build up my next layer really nicely. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and then I'm honestly not going to worry about the little area right here. It'll be just fine. It's just a cake topper. We will be good to go. Okay. Oh, this stuff is so sticky, which is one of the reasons why it's amazing, but it can make it a little silly to work with. Okay, there we go. Now I will undo the tops. Sticky, sticky, sticky. Sticky, sticky, sticky. Okay, and then, oh, you know what though? That's not gonna work, Bethany. Okay, hold on. It has to be a little thinner on this, on both sides, really. Because the reason why, this will come off really easily because it's just on that layer. Okay, the reason why is because I didn't think about this. This layer is smaller than that. So actually this one is fine. I just need to trim it down just a hair right here. Okay, there we go. Because it is offset. Let's see here, which piece went where? I think this piece went here. So let me just trim these down. In fact, you know what? That's proving to be difficult to have that on there. So we're going to go sticky on sticky. And that is permanent. That is what I call a permanent relationship. Sticky on sticky. Okay. That's not going anywhere. And then on this one, I will just be careful and trim this down just a hair. And then we'll be good to go. No worries. I will make the mistake so you don't have to. You might have already been thinking, that might need to be a little thinner, Beth. But that certainly did not cross my mind at all. Sometimes the craft that makes you work the hardest is the one you love the most. So let's keep that in mind. Or at least that's what I tell myself to keep going. Okay, let's see. Now let me trim this little guy down and we'll be good to go. I'm finding just using a true control knife is so much easier than trying to fight with scissors. And I have like 3 of these knives, so maybe I'll just delegate one to all my sticky projects. Okay, here we go. Double thick. I'm changing my mind. I'm going to build up that area just a tad. I just, you know, at this point, we're putting a lot of work into it. Let's make sure it's pretty darn good. I'm just going to stick that on my mat. And I have just learned that this X-Acto knife is the method of choice for trimming foam tape. Okay, 1, peel it off, and 2. Okay, I think we're ready at this point. Right. Oh, misaligning that. Right there. Ooh, okay. Here we go. That looks good. Very nice. Okay. So we have our first layer done. Now, let's see. What do I want to do next? I think with this layer, I'm just going to glue it because the next one will be popped up again on foam tape. So I think that will be enough dimension. So this one, for me, I feel like this is just the guide for placing your filler. Let's see, come here, little glue. I'm just going to use some art glitter glue. It's my favorite lately for paper. It dries really fast. I need to get more because I've been having so much fun with paper lately. There we go. It dries fast and it's just so easy to work with. Okay, so as you can see, I just picked some colors that I thought would complement nicely. There we go. We have a nice little shadow. Okay, now I'm going to bring in, this is new to me. I've been using it behind the scenes to work on another project and I'm in love with it. This is little foam strips and they come pre-done in a variety of thicknesses. I'll link them down below. They have been very handy with shaker type things. I'm currently working on some shaker cards and teacher gifts. So I probably will have that. You probably will have, by the time this comes out, this video, you probably will have seen that other video. But using that guide that I just glued down, I'm going to go around with this foam tape. Okay, and I need to trim it just a little bit here. I'm going to go around with this foam tape and build it up because we're going to be building up a little area to place our stars within. So I'm going to grab some more. And you just want to make sure that you completely surround it so that the stars aren't going to fall out. Okay, that looks good. But also I'm just going to make sure that I round the edges of my foam tape so it doesn't peek out the sides. That looks good. Okay. And here. So whatever number you're working on for your cake topper, how cute is this going to be? They come with a variety of numbers. Okay. And finally, this last little area. Okay, I just need just a hair more. Like maybe that much. Ooh, I can probably need to trim that down just a little bit, but let's get that last little bit covered. Okay, oops, I have a little opening. Aww. I can do it. I got it a little shy there. No worries. There we go. We're good. In fact, I'll place this other little piece here. Okay, now what I'm going to do, actually I'm not, that's a little too big. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off, I've used this before recently, and if I put the stars in now and try to take this off, it ends up not working in my favor. For some reason, it's kind of difficult to remove this part. So if I have this full and I've filled my shaker, sometimes the stars start moving onto it and then start sticking. So I find it better personally to take off the double-sided adhesive first and then fill it. But do it however you like. For me, this has proven to be more enjoyable. The other way, I find that all of my confetti is going everywhere because I'm turning and trying to peel, but also I'm trying to like make sure nothing falls out, and it's just not my idea of a good time. So I'm going to do this part first. I'm going to remove all of the little double linings, and then I'll fill it carefully. That way it doesn't stick to my edges, but we'll get it done. Okay, using my weeding tool, I'm finding it helpful to use that to grab, and you have shown me this with like the little foam adhesive dots, to use my weeding tool to peel up that layer. And let me tell you, it's so much easier than your fingernails. Okay, now this is sticky. Okay, before I fill, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my acetate layer and I'm just going to look. Okay, I'm going to take off the double-sided film. Okay, so there's one here. Turn it around. And this just protects it from getting scratched or anything while you're trimming it, cutting it, doing whatever you need to do. So then you take those two films off the front and back, and then it's that nice, really clean look. Okay, I'm going to set this to the side. I just want to get that ready to go because once I fill it, I want to close it. Okay, now we're going to do this as cleanly as possible. I'm just going to fill my shaker. Oh, it's already gonna get on the side. That's okay. We're gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Okay, I think that's good. I want it to be nice and full, but I also want it to have some movement with it too. Maybe a tad more. I mean, okay. I want it to have movement, but I also want it to be full. Okay. Tweezers. Where are you, tweezers? For the couple of pieces that are going off the side, I'm just going to friendly nudge them back into the shaker. Okay. Come here. Okay. I think I'm good. And I'm just going to kind of place those in there. Okay, making sure they're not sticking to the foam tape because I want that to have a nice clean closure. Whoops. And if some fall out, we're just going to part with them at this point. It's meant to be that you're not going to make the final cut. Okay, now that that's in there, oh, that's really neat. I'm going to take my acetate and we're going to close this up. So I'm going to bring it towards me so that I can really line this up. Ooh. Come on. Okay. Here we go. Oh, that's so cute. Okay, now don't worry about the ones that are kind of stuck on the side. It is what it is, and it's sealed. I could push them in, but it is stuck on there. I mean, that's not going anywhere. So I am going to choose my battles, and I'm going to let those little guys stick to the side because we're going to cover it up anyway. It's not going to matter. So then we're going to take this little part and cover it. How cute. Oh, neat. Okay, so I filled that pretty good. So there's not a ton of shaking there, but you know what? I kind of like it. I think it's fun. So you could add less if you want. I feel like when I was looking at shaker numbers as inspiration, I feel like a lot of them were really full, and then that just kind of added to the fun of it. That is super fun. And then you can kind of just play around with it to help it shake a little bit. Okay, so I'm just simply, you can add foam tape to this part. I'm simply going to add glue. And I'm going to go around that area and get it all glued together. Okay, here we go. Final bit. Need a little bit of help for my glue. There we go. Okay, gluing, following that foam tape. Ooh, I probably did a little much, but it'll be okay. And honestly, I'm going to use this to help me close. And that glue will dry clear in case you see any. I'm going to line it up. Try to dab off any though, because I don't want it to cloud my acetate. There we go. Got a little heavy-handed on one side. Got a little excited to complete this. Cute. And then I like this because it brings in that gold that we have, you know, on his shirt and on the little gift boxes. I like that you have little accents here and there. Be a little lighter with your glue because I got a little excited there. Okay, cute, and that's gonna dry. But how neat is that? I love it. It's gonna look so fun on the little cake. I think it's fun. Ah! Okay, so we got the cake topper done, and the last thing I'm gonna work on is the high chair banner. That's gonna be so cute. Let's go ahead and get that started, and then I think I am just about done prepping for this party. Okay, so I am going to make the high chair banner. Now I have done the first two pieces behind the scenes just to make sure I liked the materials I was using and how it was coming together, and to do a little test run for myself because I've never done this before, but I really like how it's turning out. So I purchased this from Kimberbell. It is a disc that has some files on it to make the little pennants and banners, and they include all the little alphabets, letters and stuff like that. So it's super easy to use. You could obviously, if they show you, you could make, you know, things for the holidays. You could make just one little monogrammed banner or pennant. So many things, includes 5 sizes. So I'll link this down below. Super fun, but I thought it would be really fun to make a little banner for his high chair. So I'm gonna use my Mighty Hoop for this, and go ahead and use any materials that you would like to use. I'm going to show you what worked for me, and the only reason it worked for me is because I had a certain preference on how I wanted mine to work, right? I really wanted mine to be a little bit thicker and to be firm. So I did make a couple choices in order to get that look. So I'm going to go ahead and use a heavy tearaway. And again, use the stabilizer that you would prefer to use for this. This is what I decided to use. So I'm gonna go ahead and hoop my stabilizer only, and then we're gonna prep all of the other materials that will help build this little banner piece together in the hoop. So I'm just going to hoop my stabilizer, just like that. Perfect, one and done. Okay, now let me go ahead and just place this on the machine really quickly so I have some space to prep my materials. Okay, and switching out some supplies. Paper scissors away, fabric scissors in, and here we go. So it does tell you, I believe, what dimensions to cut your materials at. I did pre-cut all of mine, but I'm going to go ahead and iron them really quickly to make sure they are nice and straight. Now, one thing that I have begun to fall in love with and now use on all my projects. So I was introduced to this fusible backing when working on my Kimberbell quilt and Kimberbell pillow. So it is amazing. It is a really nice little additional stabilizer, if you will, for the back of material. The reason I'm going to put it on here is because I have a nice white background that I'm using. And one of the things that you can use this fusible backing for is to help make your material not so sheer. So I'm going to do this so that it kind of Makes it look a little bit thicker, if you will. Another reason you can use this is to ward off any puckering. It helps with puckering a lot. So I have just learned that this is worth its weight in gold. I love it. I'm pretty obsessed with it. So I'm going to iron that onto the wrong side of my fabric. And I'm going to also do it for this piece as well. Now, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. Again, it's just a new thing that as I am developing my preferences with machine embroidery, I'm learning that I really, really do like this a lot. Okay, so again, just ironing that onto the back. It is a fusible, and then I'm going to use this fabric for my applique piece. And I am going to also, for this now, of course, this isn't as sheer as that white. And you just kind of measure it to the size of your piece. I have to trim that down just a little bit. So this is not obviously white, so I'm not using this for the see-through aspect, but it does, again, help with that puckering. So I'm going to do it on the back for that aspect. Just trim this down just a little bit. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Iron it down. Okay, another thing that I decided to do was I decided to put a fusible fleece on the back of my main fabric. So this is my applique fabric. I have a fusible fleece here that I purchased, and I'm going to measure it out so it is the same size as my main piece of fabric. And the reason I wanted to use this, again, it's not necessary, but I really wanted mine to be thick. And I want it to be thick because I want it to have a little bit more of a quilted look to it. And I wanted it to be just a little bit more substantial. I didn't want it to be flimsy. I want it to be a nice, just nice thick piece. So it's not necessary and not mandatory, but again, make your own decisions for your project. So this is a fusible. So I'm going to iron it onto, now I have to remember which side is my fusible and which side is my fabric, Bethany. Okay, this side. Okay. So I'm going to just iron it onto the top of that fusible. The fusible backing. Okay, so I have a layer of my base fabric, then I have the fusible backing, and then I have my fusible fleece. Again, you don't have to do it this way. However, it's the look I was going for, so that's why I did. Okay, there we go. And now we should just about be ready. So we're going to go ahead and head to the embroidery machine. Again, we just have stabilizer hooped, and we are going to get this started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I switched to a black thread just so you can really see our placement stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that out. Okay, so we have our placement stitch here. So we're going to use this as our guide to begin building our little pennants. Okay, so I thought it'd be helpful just to keep these here so that you can kind of see where we're going with this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our base layer, fold it in half, and then we're going to just iron down that fold just so we know where center is. Okay, just like that. Now bringing my hoop in, we're going to use some of the embroidery tape just to secure as we are getting everything placed on the hoop, but we're going to reference that fold line and we're going to line it up with this top line. Okay, that's just going to ensure that we have enough fabric for the front and the back. So it doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure you have enough, right? So I'm just going to monitor. That looks good. And then I'm going to tape down. And I double check a million times because it's just easier to double check than to make a mistake. So I'm going to tape down right and left, and then I'll just go ahead and just tape down that bottom part too. Okay, I changed my thread back to white because now the thread color is going to matter, and now we're going to do the next stitch. This extra fabric just kind of goes back here, okay? There we go. And now stitch. Now moving towards the placement stitch for our letter, it doesn't matter what thread color you use, so I'm just going to stitch with the white. Bringing in my applique fabric, I'm going to make sure that I cover the placement stitch. Tape it down just so it doesn't shift. And then I'm going to change my thread color at this point to the color that I want to be used. And I'm doing that because the final stitch is not satin stitch, so you could potentially see your thread color for this tack down stitch through it. So I just like to play it safe and use the final stitch thread color for the tack down stitch. Okay, stitching down the tack down stitch. Okay, so then we have our tack down stitch there. You can go ahead and remove the tape. And then I'm going to use my little snips. I like these for trimming applique. And I'm going to just cut as close to that stitch line as I can. Now, you are going to want a little bit of a clean stitch. See this final stitch here? It's so pretty. But you want to make sure you do have a nice clean cut here. So I'm going to just take my time. I like to rotate my hoop as I cut. And just trim as close to those stitches without cutting my stitches. If you do cut a stitch, don't worry, it's okay, because there is a finishing stitch that's going on top of this, so it will mend itself, but just do your best not to if possible. Okay, and I just prefer kind of keeping my scissors roughly in the same direction and just rotating my hoop as needed. Okay, seeing that letter come to life there. Then you can, of course, save your scrap fabric, or you can use it for another project. Applique usually uses quite small pieces, so you could definitely save this and use it for something else. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, you see all the little kind of pieces that come off when doing that? I like to take my lint roller and just mend that all and just get it all clean and make sure I don't have anything sticking out, any pieces that want to further come out. Okay, I think that looks good. Now, taking my time making sure everything is clean here. Now I'm going to return this to my machine, and it's going to do the finishing stitch, which is just beautiful. I'm not sure of the actual name of that stitch, but it's so pretty. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, again, being mindful of the fabric, I kind of fold it over itself when placing it on the machine so it doesn't get stuck under, but then allowing it to kind of fold back. Okay, let's go ahead and do the finishing stitch. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is, on the machine, we're going to skip over one of the steps, because the next step is going to allow you to do a chenille layer, but I'm not doing chenille, faux chenille for this project, so I don't need that step, so I'm going to skip forward one step. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my my back piece of fabric, and I'm going to pull that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some more tape, and I just kind of pull it pretty taut. Again, it's stitched at the top, and I'm going to tape it down, because this is what's going to stitch the front and the back together. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to change my thread color back to white. It's just a preference for me. That way if I do see any of my stitches when flipping it inside out, they're not noticeable because they match my base fabric. Okay, I'm going to do my final stitch to stitch the front and back together. Okay, so there we go. It's stitched all together, and as you can note, it did leave an opening right here. So now we are completely done, and at this point we can remove our tape, but also remove our entire project from the hoop and continue getting this all ready. So super easy, right? And then of course you can personalize this to do anything you want. Based on the fabric you choose and the letters you put on front, you could do anything. You could do something Christmas themed, Valentine's themed. You could make a birthday banner with someone's name. For graduation, you could do, you know, the school colors. And I mean, it's just endless in terms of possibilities, which I love because you can buy one design and then you can use it for so many things, right? It's super cool. So I liked this idea of doing a little high chair banner. I've always wanted to do one, and I thought this was a perfect idea. Just tearing out my stabilizer now. I like to just tear as close to the stitch line as I can because we're going to be flipping this inside out. So actually, if I go this way, you can see that a lot better. And the stitching like serrates, or is that even the right word? Yeah, serrated. Okay, so it serrates, if you will. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you know what I mean. It kind of punctures it enough to where it makes it easy to tear. And then if you can't get any, just trim without cutting your stitches. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to, let's see, remove this tape. I'm going to trim very closely to my stitches without cutting them. Remove one little thread. Where are you? There you are. Okay. So we want to now cut close to our stitches without cutting our stitches. Let's see. I'm going to go, I feel like it's easier for me to see this way. There's so many other things going on the back. Okay, so I'm going about 1/8 of an inch. Okay. And then down here. Now, instead of the fusible fleece, you could also just use batting. The reason I went with the fusible fleece was for the fusible aspect. I wanted it to be able to, you know, stick right to my fabric just to make it easier for building in the hoop. But you could just use batting too. So I forgot to mention that. Okay, so all of our extra is off. And now what I like to do is wherever there's a little point, I just like to kind of trim it off a little bit. It's just going to make creating the points a little bit easier when we go to flip it inside out. Okay, now I will warn you, this is going to look like a hot mess for a minute because it's very thick at this point. So it gets a little difficult, but it's obviously, I've done it twice before, so it kind of gets hard before it gets perfect. So just take your time and be graceful with yourself. Obviously, if you didn't have as many layers as I do, it'd be a little bit easier, but you're just going to locate that opening, see, and you're going to turn it inside out. So again, this is a little bit tricky, and then it kind of makes it all wrinkly for a minute. And when I did my first one, I was like, what did I do? This is looking so crazy. But then just when you think that it's looking a little sad, it all works out. Okay, so pushing it all out. See how it looks all wrinkly? Okay, and then pushing at my points. Then I'm going to bring in this little wooden dowel that I have. I think I had this from my polyfill. You can get these at the craft store though. And I'm just going to push my points out, the points of my pennant, and then just kind of run that dowel along my stitch line just to kind of give it its natural shape. Okay. Okay. So there we go. Now see how it kind of looks a little wrinkly for a second, but don't worry. there was also a thread that I wanted to trim. Done. And now I'm just going to take my iron and I'm going to make it happy again, make it look a little more polished. Okay, voila. And then what we need to do is grab our sewing machine. I'm going to grab my sewing machine and stitch this closed. So I'm just going to fold the little sides in. This part takes me a little bit to kind of get perfect, so I kind of have to take my time. I have a little sewing clip here that I use just to kind of get it. There we go. Oops, I got a little stuff on my... So I just kind of... And you know what? My banner is not perfect by any means, but it's perfect to me. And I'm so happy I could make this for him. There's so much pride that comes from, you know, mommy made that. So it's not perfect, but it's perfect to me. Okay, so tucking those in. And then I will put my sewing clip there just to hold it. Oops. Trying to get it as straight as possible. Because now we're going to sew it all together. But before we do that, we are going to, okay. We are going to, you see this top, I don't know if you can see that. There's a basting stitch there. And that is meant to be removed. So I just use my snips. You can use a seam ripper. But I'm just going to use my snips and remove that. What it was there for was to help line up our fabric. Do you remember when, or no, it was just there to tack it down, never mind. But with the intention of being removed. So that's why they just added the basting stitch at the top, because basting stitches are just so simple to remove. Okay, so I'll remove this and then we will sew this together and be done. Okay, so that is all ready. I'm going to work on this side a little bit more. It's not quite where I want it. And then I'll sew it all together. Okay, so I am going to take my sewing machine, and what I'm going to do, I'll bring this up for reference, is I'm going to sew right along this perimeter here, and then also right up here, because this is going to leave this open so that we can put either ribbon or a rope through there to just tie them all together. So I'll go ahead and work on that. Okay, so that is all sewn together. I'm going to quickly trim and remove my sewing machine here. Okay, there we go. By no means is that perfect, but you know, I kind of feel like I did better on my other two, but it's gonna be okay. I even need to fix that just a little bit. Okay, so there we go. How cute is that? I think that is really fun. And then I'm going to use a really cute little, I think, piece of cord. I thought that would be really nice. Let me grab it. I've had this forever. It's probably from Hobby Lobby, but it's just a nice piece of almost burlap cord. Well, not burlap, but let's see, what does it say? I'm not sure even what it says, but it's just a nice piece of kind of twine or cord, and I thought that that would just be simple enough and also kind of boyish, and I will just put those through the inside of my little banner and get that all ready to go. So I think that looks really nice. I'm really excited about it. I like how the colors are going to coordinate with everything else that I have put together, and I think this will be a really fun little addition to the birthday party. Okay, so all inspired by a cute little stamp set, a whole birthday party came together. And I just love how everything looks. I'm really excited to see everything just all put together, and I'm happy with how everything really took shape and came out. I think it coordinates really well together, and I am excited to see that my to-do list is a little bit shorter. So we have this cute little high chair banner, so easy. Again, everything will be linked down below in case you want to work on any of these projects. Then we have a cute little shirt, and then I love the little utensil holders. Just a simple piece of decor, but it's also super functional for the party table. We have the little goodie treat bag boxes, super fun, and I like the idea of doing a little box. I think that's really cute and fun. And then of course the little invitation. Love this invite. It's just so sweet. And then of course I'm going to be putting some things on the inside. I love the little shaker cake topper. I think it's fun. Of course, you can fill it less if you wanted to actually have some movement. I really like how full it is because honestly, when you do a shaker card, you are holding it and having like the ability to shake it around and have fun. This is going to be something that's pretty, you know, static, and it's just going to sit. So I like the idea of just having it nice and fun and full. But again, just do personal preference on that. And then of course, this was actually a surprising one that turned out just really, really neat. And of course, when I was prepping this, I was telling you, I'll just take off the vinyl later and do something different, which maybe down the road I will, but I'm not going to do it right away. I think I'm going to definitely use this for some additional decor for a while because it turned out really neat. It was super simple. And again, if you wanted to do this, you could just obviously locate a blank similar to this, and then based on the pattern paper you chose and the actual design for the front, you could make it look really, really neat and pretty. I think it would also look really pretty with like a scripture saying on the front. So I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly did, because not only was it really fun to relax and craft, but now I am ready to go for a really fun day. Please give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Let me know which was your favorite, and let me know if you're going to try any of these yourself. All right, everyone, have a great day, and thanks for watching.